Hi, this is Cece with Going Solo, and you are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I'm so excited to have you on the show today. If those have not heard of me, I am Cece Schatz, and I am a divorce, dating, relationship mentor, and I really try to help take you through the transition of life. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to move forward with Laurie Fox, and Laurie Fox works with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, and she is a memory trainer. And boy, I tell you, I could definitely use you a lot. Welcome to the show, Laurie.
Hi, Cece. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great having you. Well, what is a memory trainer, and how did you get into that? And also share with us, I know that you had gone through a divorce, a long-term marriage. So share with us a little bit of your journey, because I know that people out there like to be touched and understand where the people are coming from so they can better relate to them. So share with us a little bit of your journey.
All right. Well, we'll start with the memory care trainer thing, since that was your first question.
Yeah.
I work for Cypress HomeCare Solutions here in the Maricopa County, which is the Phoenix area. And our company services this entire county with caregivers that go out into the homes and care for people. Well, somewhere along my journey of working with them, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I was her caregiver. I was her answer person, and she was in Oregon, and I'm down here in Phoenix. My sister and I would tag team and fly back and forth and check on her, and eventually she got to the place where she needed to move down here. And in 2011, she passed away with that disease. And so for 7 years, I was her everything person, decision maker, agent, power of attorney. And I determined at that time never to let that happen to me. When your own mother, it's heartbreaking, looks right through you, it's heartbreaking. So I really identify with people that are in that position and don't want to get that disease. So I started studying, educating myself. And we have the world famous Banner Alzheimer Institute right here in Phoenix. And they opened up a program that they purchased from UCLA, and they trained trainers to go out into the field and do these memory training classes. So I was trained as a memory trainer by Banner Alzheimer Institute, and it was really fabulous. Well, the program was a real long one where the participants had to sign up to come 6 weeks in succession for 2 hours at a time. Well, most 60-plus-year-olds are too busy with their lives, and that was just too much of a commitment. So they just closed down the program. They give me the material, and they said, use it however you want, but just give us credit. And so I have done, but it's great material. And so I kind of formulated it into my own 1 hour to 90-minute class. And I go out in the highways and hedges around Maricopa County here and other places and teach people how to keep their memory sharp with some tips and tricks on how to do that. And I always stay up on anything that's new in the health world. I read a lot of books, and then I tell people where they can go get that information. And so that's what I do there. So
wow, that is something, yes.
It's a lot of fun, and I interact with hundreds of people monthly because of my job, and I have a lot of fun with that. But when I was taking care of my mother, and just after she died, and that was a lot of stress and strain in there, my 38-year marriage came to a very abrupt end. And it was totally shock and awe. And as you and I were talking before this program started, you do have to rebuild yourself. My youngest daughter came back and lived with me. My 3 daughters, who were my best support system, came to my aid and taught me how to live alone. My sister, my brother were wonderful supports through all of that time too.
You know, I like how you said that, how taught you to live alone, because I think that is probably one of the hardest things when we're, coming from a long-term marriage. Family, a lot of family. I've always had a lot of kids in the house, a lot of noise in the house, and then all of a sudden to be alone, that took a long time for me to get used to it. Now I actually savor it. I love it. But to teach you to be alone, I totally get that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, in fact, the week that all that shock and awe was going on, I'm very close friends with a couple, and they moved in with me. Well, he is a personal coach, and he was up every morning at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and we would sit on my back patio and have coffee. And Chris was just giving it to me, Chris Mason, and wonderful, wonderful teaching that just said, you can do this. You're not gonna go down this spiral and feel sorry for yourself. And it really set me off on a trajectory that, oh, you mean I can be successful and live alone? Yeah, it's been 5.5 years, and here I am all by myself, my little house. It's really wonderful. Yeah.
I am so glad. I'm so glad that you were able to really find yourself and reinvent yourself. And having such a profession as you do is something that's so important. You know, your memory. I mean, we all kind of fear that as we get older, that, you know, that's going to happen to us, and just in old, you know, getting older, the age, we tend to have symptoms like that, but then we worry that, you know, we're going to have that disease where we're going to lose it all. And so I love the idea of what you do to be able to help people adjust not only to a new life that they're doing, because you have certainly done that, but also to, you know, help them be able to understand maybe some of the limitations that we have, but also some of the limitations that we put on ourselves. Well, so I think that's great.
Good point. And to integrate the two that we're talking about here, you know, this divorce thing that you do on your radio show and what we're talking about from my memory, is that we found out that you don't have your first symptom with Alzheimer unless you've had it for 30 years. So
Wow.
You have it for 30 years before you find the first symptom. So while they're trying to discover wonderful drugs at Banner Alzheimer Institute and several other places around the globe, what are you going to do for that 30 years? And so I'm just saying, you got to take back your power. So one of the things that my friends did for me when I was sinking low in that divorce, here I am all by myself. And I went through this, I have a memory box in my living room that's great big, and it had every card that my ex-husband had ever given me. I was one of those romantics, and still am very romantic. But every birthday card, every Christmas card, every Easter card, every the holiday, everything that I had, I miss you card, I love you card. And so I sat for probably 6 solid hours, and I'd pull out a card, I'd read it, cry my eyes out, and throw it in the trash. And it was a healing. And about the time that 6 hours was coming to an end, this friend, they had moved out by then, they just stayed with me for a few weeks to get me my power back. They said, we're going to take you to Santa Barbara today. Go pack your bags. And we're taking you on a Take Back Your Power trip. And so we piled in the car, I packed some bags, and we drove over to Santa Barbara. And they took this picture of me. I don't know if you can see it, but it's me in the Pacific Ocean. And they made me pose. And then they took it and printed it out, brought it to me, and said, now I want you to set this on your desk, which here it is. And it was a Take Back Your Power. And so I realized, oh, I can do this by myself. There's so many things that you can do to build yourself up. And I did all of those. I finished the course on the divorce thing. But because of my memory training and that 30-year span that people got, that's where you can take back your power. You can start eating better. You can start exercising. There's something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, that goes off every time you get your heart rate up. Things that are good for your heart are good for your head. So that circulation, if you get on the treadmill just 20 minutes a day, you can increase your memory. Isn't that easy?
Wow, I didn't know that.
It doesn't cost you anything but 20 minutes a day, and it gives you way more benefits than you could ever imagine. Plus, for those people that are listening to this radio show because they wanted something about divorce, because the name of the show is Going Solo, for heaven's sake, that's a great title. I love it. But for those people that are looking for something for divorce, you get on the treadmill too for 20 minutes. It'll change your life. It'll keep you from getting depressed because of those endorphins that go off. Mm-hmm.
That is a great idea, and that's something I didn't know. And it's a great tip because another thing it does, I think, by exercising and doing other things, getting more involved, I call it like get your joy back, but refocusing yourself on something else is definitely a great thing to do. So that is totally terrific. Now, let me ask you, if someone wanted to reach you, Laurie, and they had questions about memory, or how they could get maybe themselves or someone that they love into some sort of plan or something with you, can you help them, or do they have to be in your local area? Can you help them if they live in different areas?
Help people nationwide all the time, just by phone. We do some things, at least I can plug them in or do some research for them if they're needing something. But if they would call me at my office number, 602-264-8009 is the main line at Cypress HomeCare Solutions. Also, they can check out our website, which has an amazing amount of resources on it. Yes, they're local resources here, but there are some things that have nothing to do with resource other than here's some information. If you apply this to it, there's all kinds of things on being a caregiver and what that involves, because many people like yourself, your father just called us a little while ago about his hip that hurts, and you're the daughter that's helping him out. If people will go to Cypress, like the tree, CYPRESS, Home Care Solutions, no spaces, cypresshomecaresolutions.com, and click on the resources. They will get a myriad of information. Plus, my boss has a radio show too here on Money Radio locally, but all of those recordings are on that. They're just audios, not videos like this one. But yeah, those are on there, and all kinds of different subjects with some wonderful geriatric care managers and people giving some great advice. This week we're having an attorney Debbie Weeks and attorney Don Schur on the radio that are elder law attorneys that are really wonderful too. So we've got all kinds of information there on Cypress HomeCare Solutions. And that's if they call and leave a message for me, someone will have me call them back, and I'd be happy to talk.
That's terrific. Well, let's take a quick break. And so when we come back, Laurie, let's talk a little bit more about some things that people can do, again, to help them with their memory, help maybe those that they love, and just give them a little bit more tips on that particular subject. That would be great. So we'll be right back. So this is Cece with Going Solo. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us every single week with all these great hosts and guests that we have on WGSN. It's just awesome what we're able to share with you and what you as fans and listeners are able to give back to us. So we do so appreciate it. And I just wanted to reach out to each and every one of you, because as we're approaching, towards the end of this year, it's going to be life-changing for you. The transition is going to be there, and it's going to be difficult at times, but it's also going to be very uplifting. And so we're very, very excited about some of the things that we've got planned for you. So we hope that you will join us each and every week right here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And we are live 24/7 streaming station on the radio. So we hope that you will listen whenever you possibly can. So we're going to take it right back to Laurie. Laurie, are you ready for us?
Oh, yes. I'm just grabbing some notes.
Okay. Well, not a problem. This is Laurie Fox, and she is with the Cypress HealthCare Solutions. She is a memory trainer. She's one of us. She's gone through, a very difficult time readjusting and transitioning through her, divorce that she had. She knows what it's like. She knows how difficult things can be. And I wanted to ask you, I was just reading, because I'm putting together some classes for my divorce support group that I have here, and then I want to reach out to those that live abroad to be able to bring them into it. But when I was reading, it was talking about some of the stress that we're under when we're under divorce. And we have sometimes some sort of like a mental breakdown where we can't remember things. And when I was reading this particular article, I thought to myself, that is kind of what happened to me, because I remember I was in court and they were asking me a bunch of stuff, and I just went blank. I couldn't remember anything. I mean, I just couldn't remember a thing. And I was thinking to myself, it has to be stress related. So do we have trouble with our memory when we're under a lot of stress? Or did I just totally blank out?
No, good girl. Yeah, give yourself a gold star.
Yeah.
Being there in person and doing what you had to do to get through your life at that time.
Yeah.
Think of it as a big basket, your mind. And once you've got all of this stress thrown in there on top of the regular things that you're doing, it's on total overload. And for you not to be able to pull those things out of your mind, it's absolutely normal. In fact, one of the things I just picked up was what's normal aging and what's not normal aging. Because
that's interesting.
a lot of times, CC, people will just beat themselves up terribly thinking, I'm going to get it. I'm taking care of my dad. I'm remembering for him too. I've got to make sure he's at the doctor's appointment and make sure my mom drinking water. My sister got that, and I used to get to the place where you call her on the odd hours and I'll call her on the even hours. We'll make sure she's drinking water when she was out of state. So when you're doing all of that for somebody who has memory problems, or you're on overload, sensory overload, like you were at divorce, you got to give yourself a break. And there's got to be some downtime is a huge thing. If you don't know where your keys are and your glasses and those kinds of little pieces that you lose all the time, those are the two most lost items in the world. Now it's my cell phone. Somebody call me. I don't know where my cell phone is. Those are the things that we're losing because we are multitasking a bit too much, and especially when you're on sensory overload. You've got to stop, slow down, and something that I do, and one of my memory tips is I call it hocus pocus focus. You got to slow down and focus, and it is like magic. And you say to yourself, I'm setting the cell phone down on this table. You stop for just an instant and do that hocus pocus focus, and it solidifies that in your mind so that you've slowed down enough. You're not losing your mind, even though you think you are during a time like that. And so slowing down is one thing. The other thing I teach is to make sure that people understand that there are literally 3 different types of learning styles. Some people are audio learners. They love listening to that book on audio tape. And then there's visual learners. They want to read the book. And then there's the people like me. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. I probably couldn't talk on radio. I have to sit on my hands. But I'm a kinesthetic learner, and I learned sign language in college because I wanted to touch my words. So when I read a book, I'm holding a paper book in my hand with the yellow highlighter that never leaves me for very long, and I'm highlighting as I read, and that's the way I learn things, is kinesthetically. And so if you know your learning type, which all of us are one of all of those, and it kind of blends on different ones, but the audio learner may sing it to themselves. And this principle is called the wacky principle. And it took, I don't know how many scientists at UCLA to figure this out, that if we make it a little bit wacky, we're more likely to hocus pocus focus. So you make it a little wacky, and because you're an audio learner, I'm putting my phone on the table, and it's just wacky enough. It slows you down enough to be focused. If you're a visual learner, you take a mental picture. I just set my phone there, click, and it's in there. If you're kinesthetic, you might touch your phone a little bit more and say, okay, phone is going here. And slowing down, doing that, using your own learning style to make that work for you. And there's a million of those kind of things, but that's what I do.
Oh, that's great. My mother used to always say, because we would tease her because she couldn't remember things, she would always say, and she said, why I don't remember anything I can look up. And she said, it's just wasted space in my head. Why do I have to remember it? And I kind of like that too. It's like, if I think I can look it up, I don't worry about it so much. I don't worry about trying to remember that address or, those kind of things.
We don't remember phone numbers anymore because we have cell phones. But here's a little brain exercise for you. And you want to keep that in balance. Yeah, we don't have to know those addresses, and it's kind of a hassle and things. But if you will practice on everyday items that you run into things like your shopping list. Let's say you've got to get a chicken and a light bulb and some pepper and a card for your niece's wedding. That's just 4 items. And you're going to go in the grocery store and you write those down, of course, but then put that in your pocket or your purse. Try to remember it beforehand. And the reason is you are exercising your brain by doing that. And then you test yourself before you leave the grocery store. Now, if you're a kinesthetic learner, you might want to touch that and really say, okay, I know what a chicken feels like, and imagine that. If you're a visual learner, just really look at it. It starts with C, starts with chicken, and make a little acronym out of it. Or if you're an audio learner, again, you might sing it or just say it a bunch of times. But the whole point is try to test yourself throughout the day. Those memory games that people play on the computer are good for you, but they're only good for you as long as you keep trying to get harder and harder.
Oh, so, I see.
Yeah, like memory games like playing solitaire or something like that doesn't really work, but those crossword puzzles, Sudoku, all kinds of things that they have nowadays for trying to improve your memory, but you want to keep stepping that up a notch.
Now, what about learning something new? Because I remember my grandmother always said that she liked to read a lot and learn something new because she always said that kept her mind sharp. And she was, really there, even being in the 80s when she finally did pass. So she was very sharp on everything. And I remember my sister one time, I think it was my sister or my cousin. I think it was my cousin. She came to her to talk to her, and she talked real loud. And she said, I have fine hearing. My mind's fine. I'm just old. So.
You hit a nail on the head with that. It is good to learn something fresh and new because those dendrites in your brain will literally change the shape of your brain. But when you learn something new, it's called a neural network. And, when you try to remember that guy's name from college and you can't remember it. So we teach you to talk all the way around it so that you're pulling out, oh yeah, he was about 6 feet tall. He had red hair. He was thin. And that's that neural network. So when you're learning something new, say you're learning, like me, Tai Chi, I'm loving that I'm learning this moving meditation. My boyfriend Jim is a Tai Chi instructor that
nice
teaching classes and things, and so he's teaching me, and just that alone has improved my own memory. And remember, I'm doing anything I can to keep my memory sharp, so you can do that too. Find something you like, people, and go and do it. And now that you're divorced, if you live alone, you have all this time. You can talk out loud to things like I do. If you're, headed from Phoenix over to San Diego and you want to make sure that coffee pot's unplugged, unplug it. This is the wacky principle again. And you look at that plug and say, I unplugged you, and put it down. And you'll remember that you unplugged that. And then later on, when you get halfway to San Diego, you can say to yourself, oh yes, I remember it because I did the wacky principle. So just shake it up.
Yeah, good idea. Very, very good idea. Well, again, share with us how we can reach you, Laurie.
Cypress, like the tree, CYPRESS, homecare.com. CypressHomeCare.com. 602-264-8009 is our phone number here in the Valley of the Sun. Come visit.
That's wonderful. Well, Laurie Fox, you are outstanding. You just radiate. You really do. And
you radiate. You're fabulous.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. But you do. You just enlighten us, and, you encourage us that as we get older, we just need to embrace our lives and not be scared of it, not be afraid of what's going to happen to us, but to embrace it and seek professionals like you if we start to have a bit of a problem to better enlighten us so that we can move forward in a more positive way. So I think it's great. It's wonderful having you on the show.
Oh, it was all my pleasure. Thank you for letting me plug my wonderful company that I work for and what I do, and talk about the success that anybody can have. The success is out there waiting for you, divorced person. It is wonderful to get to the place where you have no needs. You really, you're a whole person all by yourself. And then if you get to have somebody else in the future, like I got to, which I'm so pleased for that, then that's just icing on the cake. But you're the cake.
Oh, wonderful! I couldn't have said it any better. You're absolutely a delight, and I want to thank you so much, Laurie, for being on the show with us today.
Oh gosh, my pleasure, Cece. Thank you. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, this is Cece with Going Solo, and another great show. And I want to thank Laurie Fox for being with us. And you are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and we'll be right back at you next week. Bye for now.